Hi, it's me, Tecboslo, and I'm doing another book review on the Nahuatl book, Ma Tiłahtucan Mexicano. Let's Speak Mexicano from Chris Cuauhtli. I'm going to show you the book cover so you guys can see it. Um, Unlike the previous review, this one's a little bit more complex. Might not be easy for some people, but this one is a little rare because it's based on Nahuatl from the Jalisco region, which is considered a dead regional part of Nahuatl. Um, and he did a lot of work on this. I remember he talked about it a long time ago. I'm not friends with him. I would say I'm more of an acquaintance with him. And he spoke about it, spent maybe over a decade on this stuff. And he compromised it all into one book. And what I would say, it's a little tougher for a very beginner one because I would say if you read a lot of how to read language books, this might be easy for you. Um, I'll show you an example. Like the verbs, and then they have, and, as you can see, and privative singular construction and imperative plural construction, as you can see right there. Um, so that might be a little confusing on stuff like that, but it's pretty much going pretty much on a language you can't talk to anybody to verify the original knowledge. So this is a very amazing. Other than being from the Jalisco region, the last speaking region in Jalisco was Tuxpan, Jalisco, and went to the 1950s where most everyone spoke Spanish. And sadly, the last native Nahuatl speaker of the region of Jalisco was in the 1980s. And so he compiled this book with audio recordings, which I have not heard. So I don't know how good quality they are, or he did an incredible job. I don't know how else to describe it. And he also went with written records of the stuff, but he compromised it as best he can in a language structure, linguistical structure style, and put into one book, which is pretty cool. It's a pretty interesting book. It's probably the closest now that my ancestors spoke, which is very interesting. Not sure if anybody would want to pick it up. I think if you're someone who wants to pick up, like the classic ones, maybe you would prefer this one instead. Mainly because classical, it's a very complicated issue. This one is more of someone breaking down a region dialect that variant. I feel like dialect still has a taboo thing, but variant would be a better word. That was alive until the 80s, which it's kind of sad. Or you can see it as multiple people spoke it in the 50s. It's not that long ago, but it's close enough to that. And the sad part was in the 80s, 90s, they brought Nahuatl speakers to that region to try to revive the language Nahuatl. But what they didn't think or consider was the people they brought outside were Nahuatl speakers of the Huasteca variant, and which has different rules and structures than Jalisco Nahuatl. So that you had some people who were kind of upset with that because they're like, well, why are you doing that when I'm like, they weren't speakers, but like, I kind of know some of it, and that's not how we spoke it. So there was a lot of backlash. I would say it was 80s to 90s, but I think now people are fine learning that. Would I recommend this one? I like it. That's the whole reason why I bought it. It's like the idea and the concept. Probably the only novel book I could think of that is close to what my ancestors spoke. So that's pretty much how I think me want to do it. But it's way. I would say it's a little closer to maybe Pueblo, but not that much. Um, yeah, that's what I liked about it. But I'm saying if you're someone who is from the Jalisco region and you want to learn Nahuatl, I would recommend this one. And like, if you're someone who picks up classical books, like classical Nahuatl books, you're like, I want to learn Nahuatl and do this and that. I would feel like this is maybe more useful, mainly because the language, you know, spoken with other people was 1950s, even though the last speaker was in the 80s. It's a more recent time than classical, which was more over 500 years ago. you know, so I don't know. I guess it depends on your tastes, your ideas, your thoughts, what you want to do. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed what I spoke about. Hopefully, you guys think about buying it. Anyway, I guess I'll talk to you guys later.